Shalom, all praises to Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushai, Ba'ashem Harakakadash. Double honors to the apostles and elders, great millstone that rule well, and shalom to all the brothers doing work concerning truth. Um, got this article on Spectator World, um, talking about, specifically, okay, I read the title. It says, the Ukraine invasion is the first social media war, and Vladimir Zelensky is a star. Yeah, because essentially with the coverage of how everything's been covered in the media, you can see how you had the narrative getting pushed like through the media from like the last, even before the invasion happened, like from the last few months before, and then like even in the week leading up to it, you had a lot like non-stop just saying like, oh, Putin's gonna invade on Wednesday, Putin's gonna invade tomorrow. um all these kinds of things being mentioned, and what's it called, all these things being mentioned. And since it started, you've had essentially everyone has all come to like the same mindset and thoughts and talking about the same things. And it's like they mentioned, it's the first social media war, and it's like social media really has come into its own, and the way like information's basically just spreads, you can tell it's like getting everyone on the same page is even easier than when it was like newspapers, or cable news and whatnot. It was like it's become, even with social media, the way people like get information, it's become even easier. It's hilarious. So it says the Russian invasion of Ukraine is not only the largest European land conflict since the 1940s, it's also the first for the TikTok and YouTube generation. As videos pouring across Twitter and Instagram and other social media platforms are leveraged for credit or propaganda, it's become evident that we are in a brand new era, much like the one that arrived with 24-hour cable news coverage of the US invasion of Iraq in 1990. Back then, it was grainy night vision images of Patriot missile launchers and target explosions that dazzled homes all over the United States. Now, anxious audiences simply launch their favorite social media app on their smartphone to see the latest high definition shelling of buildings in Kiev from Russian forces, or viral news clips of Ukrainians threatening to fuck some Russians up. And yeah, it's like the way it's been covered, the way it's been spoke about, it's purely been like the kind of narrative got set by what do you call it, by like the mainstream media before it kicked off. And since you just kind of had uh like mainly just Ukrainians, at least that's what's been blowing up online. More likely than not, anything posted by Russians is going to be getting completely smothered by social media companies and like their algorithms, and it's just going to be getting smothered in social, and it's just going to be like essentially Ukrainians are all you're going to see. And it just basically trying to show how legendary their defense is, how they're doing like 10 backflips, and you have a guy jumping in the air and suplexing an SU 35 or whatever. This is what CNN's Brian Stelter attempted to take credit on behalf of all network news media for the coverage, saying on Twitter, the past 24 hours are a reminder that consumers in an era of YouTube and TikTok still gravitate to trusted, established news outlets during emergencies. They know where to go, so to speak, and television coverage is essential. And obviously that guy has no fucking clue what the hell he's talking about. Because like for a long ass while, it's been a matter of people will go to anything that happens you'll hear like, oh, you might get a headline saying, oh, developing story or blah blah blah. You'll put in like the area in Twitter, and then you might even just search for like by videos in Twitter or media in Twitter, and then you'll see pictures and videos popping up of shit going down in those areas. Anytime something happens, everyone's got a smartphone. People are taking clips and uploading that shit online, and tagging like hashtagging wherever the area is. So and that's been how it's been like from like 2015, 2016. It's like from when smartphones become standard, it's like people just kind of will look online, and then and the thing is as well is the joke is you'll have like media companies like newspapers and cable uh cable TV stations, that's the word, will be in the replies to a lot of these things getting posted saying, hey, blah blah blah, can we pay you $250 to use this in our news story or whatever. Like that's shit that you see on the regular always. Like the Sun always does that. Bro, all these news sources do it because they know what. That before, like by the time they're gonna get a fucking camera crew down there, this shit ain't even gonna be happening anymore. And everyone already has a camera, so it's you're gonna have like hundreds of videos, and it's just like, yo, pay for one of those and use those and get the story out quicker. And that's been how it's been for the longest. Stelter has it completely backwards. While CNN has employed a roster of veteran foreign journalists, like the impeccable and reliable Clarissa Ward, to dominate their coverage on the ground in Ukraine, much of CNN's main roster of partisan performers have been sidelined. That's not a testament to the current state of CNN or cable news. Also, much of what is airing on cable news are videos culled from viral clips, which were first shared on Twitter, Telegram, and other social media sites. Slapping a CNN logo on these clips does not mean the majority of audiences are getting the information from cable news. Yeah, it's been where it is for a while. Like you'll see the same, if there's like someone has a spectacular clip on Twitter, you'll see it on everyone else, all the news sites you'll go to later on will have that same clip with like their watermark in the corner. But they, it's not like they had a reporter down there or a cameraman ready to catch it. So it says from cable news, okay, slapping the CNN logo on those clips does not mean the majority of audiences are getting the information from cable news. Every day on Twitter, hundreds of small clips are shared by foreign and domestic accounts, some out of pure international interest, and others to be leveraged as propaganda. Yeah, and that's really what you've had flying around. You had spectacular amounts of propaganda flying around, and the joke is people are not even like recognizing it as it is. They think that them engaging it is some form of support, or some kind, like they're having some kind of moral proving how moral they are by engaging with the propaganda. But it's just propaganda, bro. It's basically them justifying themselves in in the conflict, and both sides are doing that shit. But it says, what journalists and members of Congress even pushed the debunked Ghost of Kiev story, a myth born from a single shared video of a Ukrainian jet fighter and pilot who rocketed to the top of trends for supposedly downing several Russian aircraft. Yeah, and that shit I was like, bro, Ghost of Kiev, when that came out, I was like, bro, you saw one clip of a guy like of some planes flying through, and the man was saying like, yeah, you just shot down like 900 ships. He probably shot the sun and made the sun black. I'm like, come on, man. Like, men are just like guessing it. But that's why it's propaganda. Because I was like, bro, if everyone's talking about Ghost of Kiev, I'm like, bro, there's no details, there's no nothing. You meant to just everyone's just going around and running with that when all you saw was a dogfight and no resolution or nothing. It's not even like there was multiple people that caught him like fucking people up repeatedly. It's just, bro, it's just the one clip. So it says, shared video of a Ukrainian fighter jet and pilot who rocketed to the top of trends for supposedly downing several Russian aircraft. A similar situation occurred when Russians occupied a small island and the inhabitants were recorded telling the Russian warship to go fuck yourselves. It was reported that all Ukrainians were killed in that exchange, but it's since emerged that they were captured. These kinds of myths are no different from previous wars and are spread to boost morale. With social media, the spread is almost instantaneous now. Yeah. So it's basically it's the same shit that's always gone down, but now what? It's like the technology, the miracles Esau is able to do, that's able to propagate it and spread it on a scale that's never before been seen. It says what Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky has been particularly adept at using social media to his advantage, posting videos of himself and members of his cabinet on the street in front of structures. Yeah, that's why he had the photo up that he did before when he went to visit something. Then you see the same pictures being used, showing like him just like apparently in on the front lines in a bulletproof vest, like he's just waiting for things to pop off. Meanwhile, it's like what? It's all photo ops. That shit was old. It's like most of the shit you see is curated basically in a way to make it look like, hey, look, all that's happening is Ukrainians are just annihilating Russian forces or whatever. But why? Because he's basically controlling the the perspective. Posting. The clips have a casual gravitas to them, like a guy out on the town with the boys, and make Zelensky instantly relatable, especially in contrast to Vladimir Putin sitting at a 20-foot-long surfboard table, or Justin Trudeau issuing decrees from a hidden bunker in Ottawa. The reason for this is very simple. Zelensky has a background in media and entertainment, yeah, which already lets you know, well, anything the guy fucking is saying and doing, that shit's gonna be taken with a grain of salt. In media, okay. He knows how to use these formats better than world leaders twice his age, better than Putin or even the current White House occupant. Zelensky came of age during the social media renaissance and knows he can reach a larger audience straight from his Twitter feed or YouTube channel. Cable news dinosaurs like Brian Stelter will never understand this. In a new digital age, wars will be fought not only on the ground or with drones, but on Twitter. Yeah, and it's like that's why you had. I think you had the Russian accounts got banned by Twitter, and then like on Ukraine, the Ukrainian one, this guy's been doing work. Zelensky's been doing work, and it's bruv, it's hilarious because you just have to think like it's it's a war, and just like with a lot of those reports, it's like just because something gets reported, the first report, like you run away with that shit, you're gonna end up making hella mistakes. Kind of hilarious. Old news journalists still praising television can get on board or get left behind. Yeah, the men are gonna be getting aired. Psalm 64:8 says, "So they shall make their own tongue to fall upon themselves. All that see them shall flee away." Yeah, Esau's basically, all that bluster, all that talk, all that smoke is, is gonna get called out. And that's the thing is with this particular situation, it's what is peeling back the layers, man. It's basically showing like, oh, so all the all the so-called, all the news that so-called news they're putting out, all the things they're reporting on, is, you know, there's an agenda behind these things, just as there always has been. It's like anyone can go to any other war, and then you'll be able to find all forms of propaganda that they will just try and report it as anything but. And now the same thing's happening, but because it's on social media, because you get clicks, because you get likes, because you get them dopamine hits, everyone's running with it, and it shows how easy it's gonna be to push things onto the masses, man. They're gonna accept it. They're gonna eat it, man. It's gonna be mad satisfying. Um, Isaiah 64, Isaiah 47 and 1, it says, "Come down and sit in the dust, O virgin daughter of Babylon. Sit on the ground, there is no throne, O daughter of the Chaldeans. For thou shalt no more be called tender and delicate. Take the millstones and grind meal, uncover thy locks, make bare the leg, uncover the fire, pass over the rivers." Yeah, everything's being made bare. And that's the thing. It's like with Esau's lies, it's like now, because it's like he said, you're seeing these things being reported in real time. You're kind of seeing how things are being twisted, because one report comes out one immediately. What you hear is it's spun one way, and then later on, when you find out there's a shift, you realize that the shit got spun in the first place. And that's that's been Esau's MO for the longest. Basically, just tweaking, playing with information to then make it work to his benefit, or to set a standard that he desires. And these things, it's played out. There's been multiple situations where it's through the media, they've essentially made everyone come into the same mindset, the same accord. That's why it's like during what was it, the start of the invasion of Iraq, like what's this guy's name? George W. Bush's what's the word they use? His not popularity poll, like the like percentage of U.S. citizens that were behind like what he was doing. It was like 80%, and then that dropped down to like 50%. When Obeezy came in, but like during the war, it was like a super high approval rating. Because why? It's basically sold it, propagandized it spectacularly, just like now. But yeah, thy nakedness shall be uncovered, yea, thy shame shall be seen. I will take vengeance, and I will not meet thee as a man. Yeah. Thy nakedness shall be uncovered. Everything away. All these things that has been Esau's MO for the longest. Now, in the clear light of day, these things are being revealed. And that's why it's even being flipped on him. But yeah, I'll leave it there. Say all praise to Yahweh, Bashem, Yahshua, Bashem, Harakakadash. Double to the apostles and the elders, and on the world, and Shalom, to the brothers of in truth. Shalom.